Hey guys, welcome back to my workbench. It's Dan here as always, and today I'm going to get you guys caught up on some stuff that I've been doing for the end of June here. And again, this year is just flying by fast. I know I say it in every video, but I don't know if you guys notice it too, but it just feels like time is not slowing down, and maybe that's just a symptom of getting a little bit older. I don't know. But anyways, time is just flying by real fast, and I just lose track in some cases. I actually missed this last month's video update, and I apologize for that, but I've been super busy with different projects, and I've been doing a lot of projects other than my own personal stuff for some other people in exchange for rolling stock because I've been trying to acquire some stuff, but at the same time I'm saving money. I'm really not buying a lot of stuff right now, so instead some of my friends have helped me out getting me stuff I've wanted in exchange for weathering some rolling stock. So no, I'm not doing any custom work right now, not at the moment. Everyone asked me about that. It's something I'm still trying to think about. You know, everyone wants a lot of heavy graffiti box cars and things like that. It takes me months to do stuff like that right now because the time's just not there. So I apologize that I just can't take on stuff right now. If I get some openings, I might consider going into it right now, but the only reason I even started doing work for some other people was because I was getting some rolling stock from that trade deal. So the reason I went into that, so I'm not going off and deviating, is because I was getting a couple cars from that process. But the thing was that doing work for other people right now took a lot of time out of my own personal projects, so I kind of had a pile up of projects again. And so I've been playing catch up. I've been getting things done. I've been working on graffiti for box cars. I've been working on heavy faded tank cars, a lot of different kinds of hoppers, and of course I've been working on a large fleet of cars to continually sell on eBay right now because that's been a pretty good secondary source of income. And you guys have been buying my stuff up and raving about my models, and I want to keep supplying the market with some of my stuff if that's something you guys are interested in buying up. So that's been keeping me busy too. Anyways, it's just a lot going on, and I want to go ahead and get caught up with the stuff that I do have right now. I don't have a bunch of stuff finished at the moment, but with the next month coming up, so July, end of July update, we're going to be doing some stuff a little bit different, and I'm going to have plenty of cars to show you by the end of that month. So everything should be working out a lot better. I do have some other videos planned as well that I'm working on, but I won't go into detail about those yet. So anyways, for now, let's go ahead and look at some stuff that I have gotten done. I've gotten a couple hoppers and some various other things done, so in this video we're going to go ahead and start going into that. So let's get started. So I'm going to kick this next month off here with a look at some more 4750s that I finished. I have two that I'm going to show you guguys today, and then I have some 5160 ones I'll show in just a second. This car here is a former Cook Industries car, and with this one I modeled an INTX prototype in salt service. So with this car what I did was lots of heavy rust and grime effects, added new hatches to the top. Those are scratch built and detailed up. And then if we take a look at the sides here, you can see the amount of heavy rust effects that I did, and then I modeled some of the ghost lettering that's taking place here. So a lot of the grime was added over all of that initially, and then I went back and hand painted all of the lettering back in and then weathered back over it. So it's a lot of multiple steps, honestly, to get that effect, but it was worth it in the end because I got a really honestly pretty good result. Added tangent trucks to this one, and then it's got all the underbody rust, as you can see. So the sides are several layers of acrylic and oil work, and honestly I think it came out really good. If we look at the top there, it's just completely baked with rust. It's just absolutely rotting away. And this is a good example of one of these later 4750s, kind of in its last years of service before retirement. They just get absolutely beat and end up looking like this. So this one has all the nice kick-up, grime, rust, everything on the ends there, patchwork. And then on this side here, it's kind of the same thing. Something interesting on this side here, you can see some of the old patching covering up those letters and numbers, and it's starting to peel away. I thought that was really cool, and I really like the Cook Industry logo on this one because you can see those rust streaks starting to take that logo back over as all this gets kind of dissolved and peeled away off the car body. So this is a really good example of one of the old billboard style cars now in current service just slowly dying away. I really like the look of these cars. This one took many hours to complete. It was a lot of work, but I'm super happy with it. Okay guys, this next car here is a PTLX 4750, and this one is an Intermountain car here. I should mention that both those cars are Intermountains. The one I showed earlier is also Intermountain. This is a PTLX lease car in a light blue. And with this one, it started off as a Sands of Iowa car. I removed all the lettering, changed the data around, and then modified some things. Kept the original PTLX number and lettering, because some of these cars are still out there, you know, they still exist. But I really focused on modeling a lot of the side scrapes, a lot of the pings, rust pits, damage, lots of that really nice rust streaking down from the side, and the wavy panels. Because that's a big thing with these 4750s. A lot of them have the wavy panel effect. It's very prominent. Lots of rust on the top again. You guys know my method for that. It's acrylic work, build up, and then oils. Custom built hatch on this one. Scratch built from styrene. Little components there. Black ends on this one, so there's a lot of rust, lots of kick up. That's all enhanced with powders. Got lots of splatter there. Tangent trucks. Underbays are nicely weathered up, of course. Let me see. I think we're looking at this side now. And then on this side, there's a really good example of some of that wavy panel work. Isn't that awesome? I love that effect. It's really simple to do with a... Let me pull it in here. I always use a cheap brush to do that effect. One of these guys, a 12 by Fine Touch here. This is a cheap Hobby Lobby brush. I get a whole pack of these, and you just go in there and stipple the paint when you're doing a wash, and it creates that really wonderful effect. It's just beautiful. So that's how I was able to really do the sides on this. And then of course all the fine rust streaking and things like that was all done later on with a heavier application of oil with a brush similar to this. So that's how I was able to do larger rust patches, for example on ends like this, hitting up all of the end cage detail and things like that. So overall this is a really nice car and I'm really happy with it. Okay, I told you guys I had some 5161s I wanted to show next, and I'm going to go ahead and insert these into the shot. These are both AEX 5161s. I've been doing a couple of these for to actually sell off. Two for a friend of mine in exchange for some new box cars, and then two for myself. So, with these are custom decaled with AEX patch decals that I had custom made by Matt at Circus City Decals, so thank you, Matt. These are both in fertilizer service. There's a lot of white streaking on this first one. Otherwise, they're both weathered essentially the same. This one does not have load spillage. This particular one does. So let's go ahead and look at some of the details here. On the sides, I used a lot of oil effects to build up the rust patching. And this was all done with sponge work. I added safety striping, the new patching, the decals, of course, lots of grime and streaking on the underbays, kick up, of course. Once I did all the oil work on the sides, let it all dry up, I then went in and streaked down some of the load spillage with white oils, so it's all over the top, all over the hatches. As you can see, the hatches are nicely grimed up. This one's got all the kick up, of course, because you got to have the kick up on those end bays, and those end cages everywhere else. There's the load spillage on this side, and then the other end there with that kick up. So this is a really good example of one of these cars that I've been doing, or at least this style of car. I think this one turned out really good. Lots of grime, mud splatter, dirt and grime effects on the trucks, of course. My little signature thing is going in detail with the trucks. But this one here will show a little bit better kind of the oil work that I was doing. So this one has the really patchy rust on the sides, and that's from moisture. Condensation, as far as I know, from the grain inside the car. These cars get a lot of moisture on the sides and it builds up and you get these interesting little patches of rust that kind of form on the sides, or at least that's what I was told that's how it happens. But anyways, on these Trinities you see this a lot, and so I wanted to model cars that had that. That was all done with sponge work and 2 shades of oils. I used burnt umber and raw sienna to do that effect. There's a good look at the patching, those custom decals, safety striping added, lots of little scrapes and pits. Same thing on the base. And then on the opposite side you have the same thing. This side is a little bit heavier in terms of that rust, of course. And then of course you got the kick up as well. Very nicely done. So those are AEX units. Those are in fertilizer service, and I think they turned out really good. There's a look at the hatch there too. Lots of that rust around the hatches. Painted the lock bars, the little hinges and things. Those are all metal components, so those are going to rust very quickly. But the hatches are fiberglass, so these don't rust. Only the metal components do. So it's a little bit tedious to have to go in there and brush paint all those, but it's a worthwhile effect to do. That adds a lot more authenticity to your model, especially with covered hoppers. Now we're going to move into some covered hoppers, and the covered hoppers that I have here so far are Atlas 5701s and 5800s. At least that's the type of car that I've been working on. This first one is a 5800. This is a custom painted ADM car. This started life as originally a Cargill car, and I stripped all the lettering off and re-decaled the entire car, and then did a lot of weathering on the sides to get this thing dirty. With ADM grain cars, especially these center flows, they get a lot of grain spillage on the sides, lots of rust rot, and from moisture, from what I'm told, it causes a lot of the paint to bubble, and a lot of times you get this discoloration in the gray paint. Some are a little bit more extreme than others. But there's a lot of examples of cars like this out there, and so I really wanted to try to capture a look of one of these more extreme cars, and so insert the ADMX 941. Now this is not an actual car, but it is based on a similar car. I believe a sister car. I don't remember the exact number, but this is kind of a culmination of different cars combined together, or at least their different weathering effects to create one model. And what we see here on this car is a lot of pitting on the sides, as you can see, and that is all done with a Micron pen. A lot of times these have these hammer marks, and I wanted to try to recreate that. So it's going all the way down the car side. You got a lot of scrapes and gouges and side pitting and things like that. A lot of the data has been repatched, new safety striping's been added, but you got a lot of grain streaking down the side, a lot of spillage. ADMX patching was re-stenciled at some point. The car has been upgraded to tangent trucks, as you can see. And then all the areas on the top have been darkened up and grimed up with lots of oils, lots of different effects. There's lots of grain spillage, as you can see, or at least the streaking left behind from soybean stains mainly just blackens up the roof, and then that's what you get a lot of this coming from. On the ends there, the redone data was added, of course, new KD couplers, and then on this side here we have pretty much the same effects. New car body patching, lots of heavy rust pitting on the sides, and let's go ahead and get another good close-up view of that rust damage and peeling paint and pitting. Nice beat up ADM logo. Look at all of those pits. Isn't that insane? It takes a little bit of time to add all those, but I think it's a worthwhile detail to a lot of these grain cars. And as you'll see, I've added this to several of the grain cars also coming up in this video. But that's the ADMX car. Now looking at some larger 4-bay covered hoppers, these are both AEX stenciled 5701 cars, and these are replicated from prototype photos. And the first one that I have here is the 7958, and the reason I was able to do all these now was because Smokebox Graphics actually reintroduced their stencil decal sheet, and the stencil set has the right font for the AEX cars. So I was able to do 3 of these. I already showed one in the last update, I believe, and these 2 are the final 2. So what I did with these was I grimed up the underbodies, kept the sides kind of clean except for the little rust dots and little pits on the sides. Those are from the vibrators and hammer marks, and you can see they're starting to streak down a little bit, so there's a lot of oil rust and things like that added to the sides, as you can see, all the way down. There's a little bit of graffiti, some little highlights, just stuff like that, and then you got a lot of the grain stains at the top from hauling the soybean and soy meal product. A little graffiti on this end, and then there you can see the AEX patching. Most all the data on these cars is stock. The only thing I had to do is add the ACF center flow decal and then the plate C's for both of these. And if we look at the tops, there's a lot of rust and grime around those hatches, painted lock bars and little hinges, of course, because I like to paint those little details. It adds a lot more realism. And then I go in and add all the grain streaking, which is done from black powder. Sometimes I'll mix a little bit of brown powder in there too, to just give me a little bit more of a subtle effect. But you can see on this side, it's just starting to streak down just a little bit. And then on the opposite side of the car, oopsie, you can see there's a lot more of this actually starting to work down the side of the car, and I just think that's really, really cool. You can see it in these subtle little areas, in these little places, and honestly it turned out really good. Again, there's a nice look at all that rust working down the side of the car, all the way down, and then lots of that grime and patching, and of course all that rust there is kind of hard to see because my fingers are in the way. I have to be careful how to handle these cars though, because I don't want to touch any of this grain spillage because this isn't sealed, so I got to be careful. That's why I'm handling these by the ladders. But overall it turned out really good. So that's the 7958. The next one is the 8974, and again this one's pretty much weathered the same way as before. You got all the little pock marks on the sides, lots of little streaks and side scrapes and things like that from when they're being unloaded. Little rust dots, things like that, grain streaking and spillage, all that's coming down from the sides. And then look at the amount of spillage on that hatch. Isn't that awesome? Real nice. There's the AEX patching, And then on this side here, again the same thing. Really like that patching and all the extensive dot work. Took a little bit of time to do with that Micron pen, but once you get it applied, then you streak it down with a wet brush and it looks really nice. So that's those cars in general. They look really good and they're ready to go into soybean meal service. Only other thing I will say about these is that these have the stock Atlas trucks. I've been adding the Tangent trucks to these and it makes them look a lot more detailed, but Tangent is currently out of stock on some of their trucks, so I gotta wait until they restock them so I can upgrade these to Tangent trucks at a later time. Now we're going to talk about some very heavily weathered cars here again, and these are both D&H 4750s from Tangent. One is mine and one is for a friend. And these guys were both very heavily weathered using oils and acrylics. The first thing I did with both of these was I darkened the sides a little bit, faded everything out so you got this nice orangish fade. Then I cleaned off all of the data, all the lettering, all the logos, hand painted those with a white and a yellow wash to get the color right, and then I weathered back over them to get this interesting ghost fade. As you can see, that's how I created that lettering fade. It was a lot of work and it took an extensive amount of time, and it was just an incredible amount of work, and I had to do it 4 times for both of these, obviously, because there's lettering on both sides. Cut the hatches kind of clean, just painted all the little lock bars and things like that, and then added all the heavy rust and everything like that. These cars are in grain service, but there's a lot of rust rot and things like that. Lots of pitting on the bays, of course, grime on the trucks, kick up on the ends, lots of heavy rust. You can see the actual number of the car is the original car number, but it's very badly faded. Same thing on this end as well. And then on this side here, you can see again some of that patching, things like that. That was all replicated from prototype photos. There's a lot of heavy rust, all done with oils. And then this one here is pretty much the same process. These are actually both the same car number, but there's some subtle variations in both of them. One was hand patched, while the other is a factory model. Mine is the factory patched version. This one is patched by my friend. So there's the differences in the patching, as you can tell. But I think it looks really good. Both of them look really good. But it's the same process, the same techniques overall. Just cleaned everything off and then re-weathered it back in. Same thing with the hatches and everything like that. You get all the kick up on the ends, and then on this side again you get all the subtle variations in the patchwork, all the grime and all the rust. And again, this were an absolute bear of a project, but I'm definitely glad I got the experience trying to weather a car like this. I haven't done a really bright red covered hopper before, and these turned out to be a real challenge to get that fading and that grime just right. Alright guys, so to wrap up this update video, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys one of the locomotives that I was able to crank out as of recently. This was a big project on my bucket list of units to do, and with Athearn's recent release of the Wheeling and Lake Erie 5391, I was able to make this long-awaited project an actual reality. So, this is the 5391, obviously. This is one of the last remaining operational original Rio Grande tunnel motors. Now, unfortunately, this unit has been renumbered to 5412, I believe, or 5312. I don't remember what the Wheeling and Lake Erie number series was, but they did an absolutely ugly job redoing all the patching and everything like this. So this is backdated to look as it did a couple years ago before it ended up going in the shops and getting a lot of work done. The paint was mostly original, except for the nose. The nose was modified, some other things, replaced the number boards. But on this locomotive, Athearn actually did a pretty good job with it. All I had to do was go in, and so let's go ahead and talk about some of the major changes I did to this before I get into more of the detail stuff. First things first, I like to change the tower gear on the back so that I have a full see-through effect. I cut all that away, made my own floor, remounted the truck. So the rear truck is not powered, it's just a dummy truck, but it still has the pickups installed, so it still is getting power. But I really like that full see-through effect on those tower gears, with or at least the tower gear being removed, so you have that full see-through effect of the radiator and those nice see-through screens. I really like that effect. After I did that work and all the major cosmetic stuff out of the way, I then had to change the number on this side, because the number on this side was changed to a Southern Pacific style font. The one side has the Rio Grande style font, while this side has the thicker, broader SP font. So I used SP decals to renumber this side and then painted them orange. I then added all the warning labels, various details on the trucks, fuel tank, pilots, everything, all over the place to get this thing up to spec. Lift rings, new location for the horn, swap some parts around. This one has a full cab interior with the control stand, seats, speed recorder detail. Essentially all the stuff that you can see if you're looking at the cab from ground level, you can see that in the cab. That's what I was really trying to focus on. On the sides, there's a lot of grime and rust streaking down from the grills. These Wheeling and Lake Erie units really get dusty and dirty, so if you look at the underbody, there's a lot of dust effects. There's a lot of fresh dust and sand spray and things like that. So let's go ahead and take the tripod away so that we can get nice and close to this gorgeous engine. There's a look at that number that was redecaled, and then there's a look at that cab interior. Notice all of the very fine streaks all over the car body, individually done with oils. Lots of oil work on the front of the cab and on the nose, all over the tip of the nose there. The Athearn locomotive is nice, although they missed the class light covers, so I had to add those and then paint them to match. The ditch lights are nice as well. Those are original Athearn, and those are powered with LEDs. However, they were mounted too far back on the frame, so I actually had to take and remount them farther forward on the pilot, and then I backfilled the holes and blended those in back to the pilot. So it was a little bit tedious. Added the drop step, all the hoses, new couplers, and all of that nice pilot grime and work was added later on. As you can see, lots of grime and mud splatter. But the nose came out really good. Lots of grime on the cab again, and then if we look down the hood, lots of that fine streaking. Relatively clean Rio Grande logo, but you can see a lot of that fine rust running down the long hood. And then of course all the dust and grime all over the trucks. Appropriate fuel tank details added, lots of the little cabling on the truck of course. Added the air filters. All kinds of really nice effects to this thing to get it up to par. And on the roof I did a lot of grime, and then there's a lot of really cool paint scrapes, peeling paint effects, all kinds of cool stuff done up there. Take a look at that. Just absolutely incredible. It came out so good. And I was just having a heck of a fun time weathering this thing, I'll tell you what. Lots of grime coming down from the grill, of course, too. That's another very important area. The only thing I got to do on the rear here is add lenses to the ditch lights. I got to order them. I use those little diodes, or I forget what they're called. They're like embroidery jewels for clothing. They have a self-adhesive backing. I forget the exact term for those, but I need to order a sheet of those, like 2mm diodes, so I can add the ditch light lenses. Add the class light covers to the back, the lift rings, of course. Weathered all that up. Very grimy pilots. Add the air hose. And then as we look at the opposite side here, again, there's that nice see-through grill effect. Lots and lots of rust and grime coming down from all those little latches, bolts, and everything from the grill. Lots of mud splatter, kick up on the trucks, on the fuel tank there. Very beat up Rio Grande side here. Look at all that rust. Those are individual little dots of oil applied and streaked down with the flat bristle brush. All the way on this side. And then there's the original 5391. And I tried to do a subtle patch removal there, because at some point in time they patched over these numbers, and you can see where they kind of scrubbed them old spray paint back off. There's a little halo around that number, so I tried to replicate that. All that turned out really good. Added the safety striping, of course, and then there's again another look at the cabling on those trucks. And I really do love these Rio Grande tunnel motors, man. They're some of my favorite engines, as you guys know, and I'm really happy to now have a complete set of these Rio Grande units. So I have the 5391 here in the original look before they changed it, and then I have the 5413 down there waiting to go out into the Mile Road and get some service. But this is going to make a really nice pair of engines. I'm going to be able to run on the layout, and I just think that they look incredible. I'm really happy with how they turned out, and the 5391 was the last one, so it's a big project out of the way that I'm super satisfied with, and I'm really happy with it. So hopefully I can get some videos of this thing running on the layout, huh? Anyways, guys, that's going to pretty much wrap this up. It pretty much gets us up to date on all the various cars that I've been working on, and I got lots more projects coming, so I can tell you right now it's going to be another jam-packed update video next month. So you guys can stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube for more content so you guys don't miss anything. If you guys are interested, I am selling models on eBay right now under my name, Derry Arnold. That's actually my brother's name, I should say. I'll post a link to my eBay in this description here of the videos. That way if you guys want to follow my eBay page, you can, and you guys can check out some of my listings. I'm going to be listing pretty regularly for the next couple weeks, so there'll be some really good models going up that you guys can bid on if you were interested in. So I'll leave a link in the comment there. But I really want to thank you guys for watching. I always really appreciate the feedback. I always really appreciate the support, and I love really being able to show, honestly, a lot of the work that I do, because it's a passion, it's a hobby for me, and I really like being able to do the best I can with it, and honestly sharing a lot of my techniques with you guys. So I have lots more videos planned, and I got another how-to and some other cool little tip-trick videos coming up soon, so you guys can also stay tuned for that. So thank you for watching, guys, and we will see you in the next video. Take care. See you later.